welcome again to Sid Caudle Christian People's Alliance. And Sid, it's all happening. Ms. Mahmood is going to rescue us and make us all into Danes. So we better start wearing those stupid hats with horns. And little does she know that it's a comparative nonsense. What happens in Denmark, which is a very efficient country and a lot smaller, their problems are not like the UK. And they're organised, especially their civil servants. Ours is a complete mess. They make a mess of everything. It's not going to work, Sid.
Well, I think the biggest problem is that whether it's actually going to go through Parliament. I mean, Labour Party have got a massive majority, but they've already shown that, I mean, with the winter fuel allowance, that will face rebellion from backbench MPs, quite rightly, I should say. So it was changed, and then they were going to cut 5 billion off benefits, and then they couldn't get that through Parliament because of rebellion from Labour MPs. And frankly, I mean, you have to remember that when they were in opposition, the Labour Party was calling any measures like this racist and strongly opposing them. So all of a sudden now, the measures that they were calling racist and they were strongly opposing, they now want to implement. Well, I mean, I'm talking particularly about changing Article 8, which is a right for a person to be with a family, which has been used on many occasions, even to allow people that have been convicted of crimes to stay here because they needed to stay with their family. And so the right of Article 8 under the European Convention of Human Rights gives the right of a family to be kept together. And that's been used numerous times to prevent deportations. And the Labour Party is saying we're going to get rid of that. But it's going to be very difficult. It's not easy to get rid of, particularly if you continue to be part of the European Court of Human Rights, because even if they change British law to say that there is no right of you to remain with your family, unless we actually leave the European Court of Human Rights, anybody in those situations could then take their case to the European Court of Human Rights, where they would probably be, the British law would be overturned under existing rules. So it's by no means straightforward. And she's also saying that she's going to reform Article 3, which Article 3 gives you a right not to be persecuted or to face or to be sent back to a country where you're likely to be persecuted. And if you're going to reform that article, then that's going to have some international cooperation. Again, if we'd have to leave the European Court of Human Rights, and we'd have to also leave a whole load of international treaties that we're part of. So, you see, what's happened so far is that Shabana Mahmood, since she's been Home Secretary, has made numerous announcements. I mean, her first announcement was that asylum seekers are going to be put in army barracks rather than in hotels. But that never happened. Then she made an announcement that any country that refused to accept back asylum seekers would have no visas allowed at all. They wouldn't be given any visas. Now, she could have implemented that. She could have implemented the army barracks, but didn't. So she made the announcement, but there's been no action. And this announcement now, some of these other measures that we're talking about, which she announced yesterday, she's already announced them previously, but not done anything. So frankly, also, by the way, I should say that one of the giveaways for me was the fact that she also said that she's been extremely pleased with the reaction from the media for her measures. So it's like, oh, okay. So is that really what it's all about? Just trying to get some sort of media headline that says, oh, the Labour Party is now getting tough on immigration. They're going to do everything that Reform said that they were going to do. So there's really no point in voting for Reform. So, they've now got a complete change of heart and we have to welcome what they're saying. I mean, is that really what they're doing? Because the reality, in my view, will be no change.
Right, I agree. I think it's a disaster. Late night television had some people on there that knew what they were talking about, and this was put to them. and they all said, it's a joke, it's window dressing, which is what we're saying in actual fact. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
He said, even a barrister confirmed this. They're going to drive coach and horses through it. There's lots of loopholes. It's impossible. Mahmoud has had a conversion. It was only a short time ago. She was in Greece, encouraging all illegal immigrants on boats there to come through Greece. It wasn't long before she was criticising everything now that she is lauding. And Badenoch's not without culpability. She thinks she's wonderful, Mahmoud. Really? Do you really think? Yes, we'd like to work with you. Now, as you've just said, it's so obvious, Sid. They're frightened to death about reform. That's all that's happening here. And frankly, it's disgraceful. It's a Rwanda situation, call it what you like. Anything that's likely to do anything is not done. And beware, things are going on in dark corridors, Sid, even involving other parties, even involving the Green Party, even involving, well, I don't know whether Sultana's party or Jeremy Corbyn's party have any call here. They're the only one that are different apart from reform.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you see, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're totally agreed that basically there's going to be no change. But I should just say regarding Kemi Badenoch, I mean, I did actually listen to her response, and she did say very clearly, you can't implement this without leaving the European Court of Human Rights. And that is now Conservative policy. So the Conservative Party aren't just simply saying, yes, we support you. They're saying, yes, but the implication is you've got to leave the European Court of Human Rights. The other thing, by the way, I should say, is that in an interview, Shabana Mahmood was asked, are these measures going to lead to a reduction in the number of illegal immigrants coming across the channel? And she refused to answer the question.
She did indeed.
Yeah. So, see, what they actually should do is put the Royal Navy in the channel and basically say we're not allowing any small boats to cross into British waters. I mean, it's quite simple. Literally have a battleship there that basically parks itself in front of any small boats trying to come across and basically saying you will not pass. Now, bearing in mind, Donald Trump has managed to build a wall between America and Mexico and succeeded thereby in stopping all illegal immigrants coming into the United States. It's much easier to defend a sea border than it is to defend a land border. So, it's not actually that difficult for us to stop them coming across. And that is what needs to be done. We need to stop them coming across, and we need to leave the European Court of Human Rights.
Yes, absolutely. That's what. And associated laws, as you've mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult. They don't want it to happen, Sid. Let's be brutally honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally agree with you. I mean, it's like you say, it's window dressing. And the reality is that they're just going to allow immigrants to come down. The other thing, by the way, in her announcement, which is, if you like, in the subtext, was we're going to give illegal immigrants more money than we're giving them now to give them a greater incentive to return to their own country. And she also said that we're going to create a new legal path to immigration in addition to the current legal path to immigration. So what's that going to look like? So alongside all these things, announcements she's made about how she's going to tighten up, she's also said that things are going to be more favorable for illegal immigrants in these two respects. Now, what we're really going to see is no change to the existing laws because nothing will go through Parliament. It's all just window dressing. But there will be real change in terms of greater incentive for immigrants to receive money from the government, and also there's going to be a new legal path to immigration. That is this going to be free entry? I mean, at the moment, the legal path to immigration is quite expensive. I mean, it costs quite a bit of money to make all the applications and everything. Plus, if you go on a work visa, you've got to be earning, the figure now is 38,000 a year. So it's difficult to get a work visa. Getting student visas, you've got to make sure you're on a bona fide course. I mean, some of the courses aren't bona fide. So is it going to be easier to get a student visa than it is now? I don't know what she means by it's going to be a new legal path for immigration, frankly, and I'm very concerned about it.
Yes, indeed, so am I. And the hypocrisy gets stuck in my throat of this government. And it's even coming out here. One of the things mentioned is, when we get our digital cards, we'll be able to trace everything that goes on in the country, even to illegal immigrants. 1929, it'll come in and it will solve all our problems. What a load of rubbish. It will create more chaos. I can get an ID card made in India or even Ukraine within 3 days. They are commonly available. And it's a nonsense, all this, Sid. And the other thing is, I've got a question for you now to prove what nonsensical it is. Again, in the subtext, as you said, this time they've got a situation whereby they can get rid of people. And let's talk about this actually, because they're already here, Sid. It's all right saying, oh, our police are stretched, our NHS is stretched, our schools are stretched, our roads, we're looking forward to a Christmas full of roads and strikes as usual. Now, if I gave you a magic wand and said we can reduce the population by 10%, and that's what we could be talking about, as much as that, to get rid of illegal immigrants, well, the lefties will say, oh, you can't do that, you can't split families up. Yes, you can. Other countries do it because they are illegal. You've lied and cheated to get into our country, and now you're getting your comeuppance. But there are too many softy, hardy lefts to counter that.
Yeah, but I mean, the first thing we need to do is to close our borders. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. There are a lot of people here that have come here illegally that shouldn't be here. Once we've closed our borders, then we can start seriously addressing that issue. But there's no point in addressing that issue at the same time as, well, since Mahmoud has become Home Secretary, there's been 10,000 more illegal immigrants have turned up. And where are those 10,000 illegal immigrants? Probably most of them are in hotels. Some of them may be in other houses of multiple occupation, which some are being put into. But as long as that's happening, there's really little point in talking about the people we need to send back, because we've got to stop that first, and we've also got to stop people coming on non-existent courses on student visas. That also needs to be stopped. It's not only people coming across the channel illegally, but we've got to stop people coming in first and then we've got to start getting to grips with the people who need to be sent back.
Yeah, and let's go for a bit more hypocrisy in all this, because again, we've got a situation hinted and spoken outright, in actual fact, that she will say, or the government will say, right, you are fit enough to work, Mr. Illegal or half legal immigrant, and you're not working. Therefore, you will not be allowed to draw any universal credit or any other benefits. And the question is, Sid, hypocrisy in mind, why isn't she doing that with the Brit couch potatoes now?
Well, in principle, it is being done, but it's see, one of the issues is that unemployment's actually been going up. So we've now got a situation where we've got more vacancies and more jobs to fill, which we had than we had before. I mean, unemployment is now 5%. So there's even more reason for actually saying, come on, look, we need to get you back to work. I mean, the information that I've had is that when job vacancies arise, even vacancies like filling shelves in Tesco's, for instance, there are 40 or 50 people applying for those jobs. So, it's actually, we're now in a situation where actually getting jobs, I guess, is harder than it was before. But so it's difficult. It is difficult because if somebody says, I'm not able to work, and it's very difficult to get jobs, the problem becomes harder. But when it comes to illegal immigrants, it's like, well,
there's plenty of jobs out there in hospitality. Let's turn to Trump for a solution. Again, it's happened in two different areas. I'll quote one. Maybe we've got time to quote the other one. But in certain parts of America, he's sent in like a SWAT team, if you wish. He's targeted one area, well, many areas actually, but one area we've just got the figures for, 36,000 off-ski out the country. Why? What have they done? Well, they're, inverted commas, illegal immigrants, and 12,000 for drunken driving. And they've gone. Never happened in the UK, that. 12,000 for assault, and they've gone. 8,000 for theft, and they've gone. Student visas being revoked because they stayed below their time. They've gone. Now, it's tough, but why should these illegal people, and significantly said, those young people, mainly students, that are still laughing at the death of Charlie Kirk and stirring things up on social media, he's got rid of them. Wow, the difference between the US and UK. And I think he's absolutely right.
Well, I think if any immigrant comes here to this country and commits a crime, whatever the crime is, then absolutely they should be deported. I mean, I wouldn't expect if I just go and visit the United States on a visitor's visa, which is normally 3 months, which I have done several times. If I go and commit a crime, I would expect to be deported. It's like, and so if somebody goes to the United States on a student visa and commits a crime, whatever it is, even if it's drunken driving, but certainly if it's theft, these are fairly serious matters. I would expect that that person to be deported, and I would expect the same should happen in the United Kingdom. If someone comes to the United Kingdom on a student visa and commits a crime, they should be immediately deported. I mean, all this stuff about, but I've got family here and unfortunately I'm going to split up for my wife. I'm sorry, if you've come here on a student visa, then you've got to, and you've committed a crime, you've got to go back. And if you brought your family with you, then you'll have to take your family back with you. That's something else, by the way, which is supposedly being addressed by Shabana Mahmood, because at the moment, even if somebody is here illegally and they're being told to send back, and they are actually sent back, the family aren't sent back with them. So even though they may have brought the family here when they've arrived in the UK, and it's deemed by the courts that they're here illegally, when they're sent back, the family is still allowed to stay, which is just ridiculous. So all these things, yes, Trump is getting to grips with it because he just cuts through all the rubbish and says, this is the rule I'm applying. Any immigrant that commits a crime will be sent back. And quite right.
Give you some more information about the same theme. Operation Summer Heat, another area in the US. But again, it's about immigration. 28,000 US violent criminals arrested in one area alone. 8,700 for violent offences, 11,000 for murderers. Wow. And many more for other less horrendous crimes than murder. And they've gone. But they've analysed who has gone. Of the illegal immigrants, 70% were criminals of one form or another. Wow, I can't see that's been any different from our rubber dinghies coming over. These are not vetted people at all. They murder, they kill, they rape, a goodly proportion of them. And Trump has found in this area that the crime has gone down by 20% overnight. Now it's about time the trendy, progressive liberals were seen to be culpable, Sid, and somebody should have the courage to speak out against them. They are just as responsible, some people are saying, as the actual criminal lot.
Well, yes, I mean, Trump has said many times that, it's all these people coming across our borders, we don't know who they are, but countries have been emptying their jails and just sending them across the United States. You see, Biden, when he was elected, the first thing he announced was no one will be sent back. Which, see, if you make an announcement, no one will be sent back, it basically means if you can get into the United States, then you'll have permanent residency. Because no one is going to be sent back under Biden. So all they had to do was just to get in. And if you bear in mind, he also opened all the gates in Trump's wall, and any gaps, he just said no gaps must be filled, and then people were allowed to come across seas without any restriction. It was actually relatively easy to get in. So if you can get in, and the government has a publicized policy, no one will be sent back, then it's not surprising that under Biden, they actually had 5 million immigrants turned up in the United States. And Trump was saying, look, this country's just emptying their jails and sending them into the United States. And, we've got to stop it. And he stopped it. And he's dealing with it. And absolutely right. But we should absolutely do the same. One of the things I think that's going on, frankly, is that we've got these grooming gangs, which we know they exist, but illegal immigrants are being told, if you go to the United Kingdom, we can arrange for you to have sex with young children. Now, the reason why I'm thinking like this is because of Kibatu. You see, Kibatu came over to this country, was put in a hotel, and he then sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl. When he was then arrested, because there was a massive outcry about it, so he was arrested and charged and put in prison. And he said very clearly, I had no idea that in the United Kingdom it was illegal to have sex with a 14-year-old girl. He said, I got no idea. But he said, now you're telling me I want to go back to Ethiopia. So that also tells you he wasn't fleeing anything. You see what the left are saying, all these poor people that are fleeing persecution, he wasn't fleeing anything. He came here for sex. That's basically what he said. So why did he come here for sex? Somebody must have told him you can have free sex with 14-year-old girls in the United Kingdom. Somebody must have said that to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said, I got no idea it wasn't allowed. Because, it's just common sense that you can't have, a grown man like him can't have sex with a 14-year-old girl. It's, so he was given false information. So if he was given false information, how many others are being given false information and are basically being told, come over to the United Kingdom and we'll arrange for you to have sex with young girls? I mean, that's what I think is going on. And that's why these grooming gangs are so serious and why it is absolutely, utterly disgusting that Sadiq Khan, as mayor of London, in charge of the police in London, is saying there's no evidence of grooming gangs in London. And that is why I am so furious, frankly, with Sadiq Khan, for saying that there's no evidence of grooming gangs in London, when actually they're now finding there's 9,000 cases which the Metropolitan Police have found, which they're now investigating, of people that have been groomed for sex in London. 9,000 cases, but he had no evidence at all. I mean, it's frankly, it is criminal, and a stop needs to be put to it, and a stop needs to be put to it very quickly.
Indeed, it does. Something else rings a bell about Miss Mahmood. She clearly stated in her interview last night with Chopper regarding the grooming gangs. Why has nothing been done? He said, have you got a date? And she hadn't. She couldn't say, oh, well, it will take us time to get to grips with this problem.
Yes.
Nothing is being done, Sid.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because the Labour Party never wanted to set up an inquiry into the grooming gangs. And beforehand, they were sort of saying, you know, when the Conservatives were talking about it, oh, you're being racist and so on and so forth, and we don't need an inquiry. And then finally, they agree, okay, yeah, we'll have an inquiry. But when they set up the inquiry, they had a restriction that all witnesses must present their evidence in advance, and no witness can be questioned by the chair of the inquiry. So that is why the two chairs of the inquiry, which they put in place, both resigned. And that is also why the witnesses who said, I'm not going to an inquiry and just presenting my evidence in advance, not allowed to give any verbal evidence at all to the inquiry. That's complete nonsense. I'm not giving evidence on that basis. So the witnesses are refusing to give evidence, and the chairs of the inquiry have all resigned. So we're now left with an inquiry with no witnesses and with no chair, yet Keir Starmer is saying he's totally committed to the inquiry, and Shabana Mahmood is saying she's totally committed to the inquiry. The fact is, the whole thing is just a complete farce.
Like so much, Sid. I mean, let's again be honest and say, which government in the first 14, 15 months of its existence have had 16 major scandals? I mean, major scandals. And in the normal world, one of those scandals would have brought down a government, and it still carries on. So who's protecting two-tier Britain? That's 17 scandals, if you include that one. How do they get away with it? Who's protecting them?
Well, the reality is that the establishment, which includes most of the media, I mean, you've got the exceptions now of GB News and Daily Mail, but most of the media are supportive of the Labour Party. Certainly organisations like Guardian and BBC and ITV and Sky News and all these organisations, and, you know, are totally supportive of the Labour Party. And then you've got the police, which are basically working with the Labour Party. I mean, we've got these horrendous situations where Christian street preachers have been frequently arrested for causing offence, yet not a single one has ever been convicted in court, you know, but somehow that's what the police are engaged in. But when it comes to grooming gangs, they just do nothing. And by the way, while I'm talking about this, I should say that we're given statistics which say that crime is going down. You know, violent crime is going down. Sexual crime is going down. I'll tell you, they're not recording crime. A lot of the crimes are literally taking place, and they're not investigating grooming gangs. They're not actually, they're not investigating theft in many instances. So this whole idea that recorded crime is going down, yes, recorded crime is going down because they're not recording it. That's the reality of it. You know, yeah, we have a terrible government supported by the media, supported by the establishment, but people can see through it. And the vast majority of people in this country have seen through it, which is why in opinion polls now, the Labour Party is struggling to get about 15, 16% of the vote. And in by-elections, they're not winning any. I mean, they're losing them all because people have had enough, you know, and the sooner that we have a general election and get rid of them, the better.
Yes, and so many people think the same way. Let's give you something to really sharpen your teeth with. I heard a lecture the other evening that was so incisive and reveals so much of what is really happening. And it started off by said that basically you've got now Islam joining forces with the far left. And you think, golly, that can't be so, surely. It can, and it's happening in the States, and it's happening in Europe, especially Britain. And what I mean to say is the one word of disruption. This is of course, the communist songbook to disrupt and move in. Now, Islam will do that and create a caliphate and create jihad. By the way, a lot of people don't realize what jihad is. Basically, it's disruption. That's what it means. And in also physical disruption. So it's not a nice situation as an Islamist, especially a lefty Islamist. They're called to struggle. Again, another definition of the word jihad, and struggle physically indeed. And they're combining their progressive notions with the left, who are deliberately trying to create a globalist situation and a Marxist situation. And this is what is going on. This is the real fight. This is the real world war, if you wish. And we're in the middle of it, and people are just not aware of what is happening.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You see, it's quite interesting that someone like Jeremy Corbyn, for instance, called Hamas his friends. And he's now setting up his new party, and he's basically making it very clear that this new party is totally pro-Islam and pro-Hamas. But we've also had it with the Greens, you see, because the Greens were also totally pro-Hamas. So, you see, if people don't understand what I'm talking about, you see, when you're pro-Hamas, you're basically saying that you are pro an illegal terrorist organization. Because that's what Hamas are, as far as the United Kingdom is concerned. They are an illegal terrorist organization. So if you're basically saying, I support an illegal terrorist organization over against the only democracy in the Middle East, which is Israel, then you're taking a very left-wing position. But you're also taking, a position of supporting Islamic violence. That's what the reality is. You see, and if the Greens are supporting Islamic violence, which they are, and they're now going up in the opinion polls because as people are leaving on the left of the Labour Party, a lot of them are supporting the Green Party, and I've seen them as high as 17 and 18% in opinion polls. It's very concerning that basically we got a rise in this country of people on the left supporting Islamic violence. It is very concerning.
Right, and you think things are bad? How about this one then? Von der Leyen has introduced and is now promoting the new European Democracy Shield. Now, this is fascinating. And if you want to fear globalism, you start fearing right here. And the idea is to filter out foreign and local dissidents and suppress them. This is again out of the communist songbook. Who decides who is a dissident? Well, Brussels will, and they'll shut you down. This is truly frightening, Sid.
Oh, yes, it's speech is being controlled more and more. You see, I find it concerning, frankly, that even often when I put comments up on GB News, that I get the response, content deactivated. You see, what I've said on this program about the link between grooming gangs and illegal immigrants, see, that is controversial. There's clear evidence for it, but it's a controversial statement. When I've put that up on GB News, it's immediately deactivated. You're not allowed to say that. And equally, what I've said about Sadiq Khan and the grooming gangs, if Sadiq Khan is even mentioned, it's just immediately content deactivated. And we've had a situation where our X account has been cancelled, which X is supposed to be the freest vehicle in social media, because now Elon Musk owns it. It's Elon Musk has said this is going to be a free speech platform. It's supposed to be a free speech platform, yet we're cancelled. It's like And we haven't, all we've done is expressed opinions with clear evidence to support them. I mean, there's been no personal abuse on our platform. I mean, we haven't engaged in personally attacking people. We're only talking about policy, and the policy people with evidence on every occasion, and the policies that people are pursuing. You know, so why on earth are we being cancelled? You see, but this is now becoming an international feature. You know, all speech is now being monitored, and the United Nations is certainly in favour of getting rid of all hate speech, is basically what they say. You know, and if you talk about a link between illegal immigrants and grooming gangs, then that is hate speech. So you must be silenced. And if you talk about Sadiq Khan not dealing with grooming gangs, then that is also hate speech. So you must be silenced because they don't want that message put across. I mean, those facts have got to be covered up.
Control, that's what they want. Listen, we've got to lower our blood pressure and talk about footy before we go. And again, we're in one of these dodgy fortnights where nothing happens. We'll find something to talk about, though, Sid. And that is apparently the World Cup in 2030 is going to encompass lots of countries, including Mexico. And already they're shooting dogs in the street, would you believe, to tidy up the city. Too many wild dogs. Bang, bang. And we've got a place. It's like in the old days when the king and queen visited your town. Suddenly, everything was painted and it looked great. Well, this is more hypocrisy, of course. And such is the power of footy now. They're way ahead, aren't they, of the game? This is, but they're shooting dogs. Good thing, Sid.
Well, all I can say is that, you know, the personal experience I've had is something similar. Was when they had the Olympics in Stratford in London, and I saw a dramatic change in the area, not only when they built the Olympics on the site, which I did know because I knew people that lived in the area and I'd actually been campaigning in the area. So I knew the area where they built the Olympics, and it was utterly transformed. And not only did they actually transform the site, they also set about repairing any pavements in the vicinity. They transformed the railway station in Stratford, and they built this beautiful shopping centre, beautiful housing for people coming, which has now basically become housing for residents in the area. And I think the transformation, frankly, was excellent. So I've got no problem with them transforming a whole area in order to make the area nice for people coming to the World Cup. I mean, a lot of money goes into it, and I think it's actually for the benefit of residents in the long term. I mean, it has to be done correctly, but the residents in that area in Mexico, when the football's been and gone, will, I believe, have a much nicer city. So I don't have any problem with that.
The dogs have a problem with it, Sid.
Well, if they're stray dogs, then the stray dogs are probably not very pleasant.
Oh, well, listen, before we go, finally, we've got to say how wonderful our England football team is. You really, just look who they've been playing against. Don't get too excited, folks, because there's problems there, believe you me. And yeah, 100% record's terrific, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell you what, Harry Kane is exempt from criticism. He's brilliant, and he's gifted, dare I say, like Lineker. They knew where to be. It's as though they received a prophecy. They knew where to be in the penalty area to get the goal. It's a gift, isn't it, Sid?
Well, yes, but when you think that Lineker scored 48 goals for England and Wayne Rooney scored 53 goals for England, and that was considered to be a fantastic achievement, and Harry Kane has now scored 78 goals for England, you know, you realise that this guy is really got something very special. And Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can say Albania and Serbia aren't brilliant teams, but they still have to be beaten. And if you look at the way England have been performing, I think on the whole, it's been some of the performances I've seen have been superb. I'm a little bit concerned about Jude Bellingham, frankly, because although that guy's got enormous talent, he seems to have a bad attitude. And he had a bad attitude this week when he was substituted. And if you've got players on your team with a bad attitude, it can affect the morale of the whole team.
It can. No,
So,
we only need to say Rashford, Manchester United to confirm that. Stirred up a Hornets this. And talking about Man U, they did have the opportunity to buy Harry Kane instead of spending 3 times what he would have cost on other much lesser players. Can't get it all right, can you?
no, well, it's interesting. Yes, I mean, Bayern Munich, probably when they signed Kane, may well have thought, well, it's worth a risk because this guy's obviously a proven goal scorer. They wanted someone to replace Lewandowski, who'd done brilliantly. But Kane must have surpassed all their expectations. I mean, yes, he's done brilliantly for Bayern Munich. And it's okay saying, oh, well, yeah, but maybe the Bundesliga is not as good as the Premier League. Possibly, but you've still got to beat what's in front of you. And he's also done very well in the Champions League. And the Champions League are as good a teams as the Premier League without a shadow of doubt. So it's not only in the Bundesliga that he's been scoring goals. And as we've said, he's also been scoring lots of goals for England. So, yeah, he's been a brilliant footballer, and is a footballer with a very good attitude as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
He's captain of the team. He's a pleasure to have as captain. He's a pleasure to have in the England team. Yeah.
There you go. Listen, we've sorted out football. So politics is easy, isn't it? Really? Thank you, Sid. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.